Hello, everyone. I'm Kaylee Haltran, Content Director for Chief Marketer Network. We are here at Possible 2026 in Miami Beach. I am here with Esi Eggleston Bracey. Welcome.
Thank you.
Chief Growth and Marketing Officer.
Yes.
With a fantastic career. I'm just going to go through some of the amazing things that you have accomplished. You were named 2024 and 2025 World's Most Influential CMO by Forbes. You made that list. You were you led marketing at Unilever, and
a lot of it.
Unilever got 41 Lions at Cannes, which was a record for Unilever itself, and I think it was a record at Cannes.
Yeah, it was the top most company awarded that year. So yes, very proud of that.
So that's amazing. You spent 8 years there at Unilever, and before that, you were also at P&G for 25 years, I believe. One more amazing award that you got recently, the AAF's Advertising Hall of Fame, which is peer voted. Yeah. So that's an amazing honor as well. So thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you.
One more award. Very soon to be awarded. You are going to be inducted into the American Marketing Association of New York's Marketing Hall of Fame, and you're going to be honored as a culture vanguard. So I want to talk a little bit about what that honor means to you and how you feel like your career, or what aspects of your career have exemplified that.
I'm really honored and proud to be inducted into the Marketing Hall of Fame, and in particular as a cultural vanguard. For me, culture is everything. The way we connect with people today is not transactional. We don't push content out. We can't push our agenda out. Instead, we have to pull it. And how we pull it is connecting with culture, shaping culture, making culture. And I'm excited that I've had the opportunity to work with brands that have done that. From many, many years ago, the CoverGirl brand, and being connected to what people really wanted from beauty, which was to see themselves, and bringing a Queen Latifah or a Pink, a Drew Barrymore to the face when there used to be like stick figure models. That's culture. And then with Dove and championing the Crown Act, which makes a difference for people by making sure we get to wear our hair naturally. By eliminating race-based hair discrimination. That's culture. And so it means the world to me to be inducted in as a cultural vanguard, because it shows how important culture is, and then vanguard, what it means to innovate in culture.
Speaking of innovation, you have worked at very large organizations, led huge marketing organizations. Could you talk a little bit about how that might be challenging to find those little pockets of growth and really kind of create that culture when you're at a large organization that often requires approval? So how do you do it quick enough to be on pace with culture?
Yeah, there are a number of reflections I have about that. Large organizations like a Procter & Gamble or a Unilever, they're usually mini organizations within an organization. So from the outside, you see this big behemoth, but inside, you find your pockets. You find your pockets of influence. That means there could be multiple pockets or groups that you have to influence, but it all starts with creating inspiration that others can see based on an opportunity, creating clarity against what that opportunity is, and then helping people contribute to it. And that has been how I've led in larger organizations, if they're matrixed or not. People can buy into opportunity if you inspire them. And I think that's true of any size of organization. Just the depth, the degree of the dive can be greater because you have more constituents and stakeholders potentially, depending on the scale, to get that inspiration, to get that buy-in, and to create clarity among. So that's how I think about it.
How do you personally keep up with marketing trends and create culture the way you're talking about? You're such a busy person. I mean, you're leading these gigantic organizations, and I know we just discussed how there's pockets, but at the same time your responsibilities are large. So how do you personally keep up with everything?
So first is to prioritize it. When you spend years in the industry, for me, I've been in the industry 35 years now, you can get misled sometimes that your job is inside, that it's bureaucratic, that it's administrative, when it's absolutely not. Your job is to create what's next. That level of inspiration to guide the company to growth. If you're focused inside, you will miss that. I'm not saying inside is not at all important, but it's less important because you bring the outside in, and then the in as you get people lined up behind the vision. So first, it's prioritizing it, and in prioritizing it, it's making time for it. So people that I work with would characterize me as making time for outside. Once you make time for that, there's so many different ways to be inspired by culture and trends. It's watching people, it's listening to people, it's going to fashion shows, it's going to concerts, it's reading, it's scrolling, it's reflecting. It's sometimes time in the shower to make connections. It's spending time with my children. I have a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old. It's spending time with my friends' kids or even younger. So all of that are examples of observing and then making connections. And then sometimes it's just actively talking to people, not just observing, that you create in your role opportunities to connect with people. So Unilever is in 190 markets around the world. And I was running the global cosmetics business for P&G. It was in 100 markets. So whenever I'm in a market, I make time to see local people, local consumers, go to their festivals, go in their homes in the Middle East, watch women talk about makeup and how important it is to them. So not only is it through your own observations, it's structuring observations so that you can hear what's going on. And when I say make time to engage with them, it's not just a focus group. It's observing what's happening in their homes. It's bringing friend groups together to watch how they engage. So there's so much in the world to be inspired by.
Absolutely. I saw you speak at Possible last year, and you mentioned some campaigns you were working on. You talked a little bit about Dove. I know that is one that you're proud of. You also mentioned AI in marketing and how it was very useful for personalization. And, a year later, it's really changed. That's still happening, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you think has changed and your perspective on using AI for efficiencies and then also possibly in creative. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. First of all, this is a hyper-dynamic time. So every day, there's something new being born. And to navigate in that hyper-dynamic time, I think about everything and yet nothing has changed. The nothings are the role of marketing. The role of marketing is to make your brand matter. And then to make that brand matter, you drive reach, conviction, and conversion that you translate into commerce, and that you understand people deeply, what we need, what we want, what we desire, and then we address that, across the 6 Ps of marketing, positioning, product packaging. Those things don't change, but everything else is changing. How we do that changes, and that's where the role of AI comes in. When I think about the role of AI, I think about it as the back office, where humanity is in the front office. You have to be crystal clear on what your brand stands for, who you are authentically, what is your distinctive point of view, and where do you uniquely add value. And that is often a human thing that you address. And you create content around that through creating a big idea through human creativity. What AI does is it helps with that nothing that changes, which is you drive reach, engagement, and conversion around that human idea. It's in the back office, So you asked about personalization at scale. Once you have that idea that is uniquely you can tailor that idea using AI to different communities, to be a part of different conversations. You can use AI to listen to what's resonating, what's not. You can use AI to optimize where something is really sticking that you can amplify. So AI, I think, is super powerful, but it's most powerful when it's used to amplify humanity, creativity, strategy. And that's how I don't know that has changed from my last talk, but it's certainly clear that those things have to happen together. So then your other question was how to use AI for creativity. Again, I think it is a creative enhancer. So if a creative has a vision to go to the moon, instead of shooting and going to the moon, you can take that vision and perhaps create the moon, but not necessarily. But one can use it for that. I think actually AI is best used, again, to scale that creativity instead of to produce it. But we would be remiss if we didn't drive production efficiencies by taking the creative concept and using AI to bring that to life. So I embrace AI, but not instead of the raw strategy and humanity that makes us all tick. And by the way, as trust is getting replaced with skepticism, the data shows that people's desire for AI content is declining, and it's declined in the past 3 years quite significantly. So we are rewarding that human creativity, that taste factor, the level of quality, and we can quickly now sniff out when something is a proverbial AI slop.
You have a session later today. You're speaking about the ad agencies of the future. So talk a little bit about what your session is going to be about and how you envision ad agencies evolving for a number of reasons. AI is one of them. But tell us a little bit about your talk later.
As I mentioned, this time is hyper dynamic. Is it brand or performance marketing? What political challenge might we have from one day to the other? Cost challenges that we have, and then of course the way AI is disrupting. The talk is all about, in this new hyper-dynamic world, are agencies as we know it dead? And what I'm doing is facilitating a conversation around CMOs against the topic. So it's kind of an off-the-record conversation to discuss that. And I will not lead with my view of what that is. What I do believe, though, is that in this hyper-dynamic time, it's not about doing more of the same or minor improvements. It's about taking a blank piece of paper and reimagining what's possible with all the different tools we have and what the needs are. And I think you talked about big companies. A lot of companies, we use agencies out of the habit and legacy of how we've used them. And we haven't stepped back to ask ourselves, what is the irreplaceable value of the agency in today's world? Where do they uniquely add value? In my experience, the irreplaceable value comes in a couple of areas. One is in this raw human creativity. The kind of talent that we bring in-house because of the range of things that our talent are doing to drive the business, don't always have that raw creative instinct of a creative agency. So I really value the agencies that come up with the campaign for real beauty. They come up with Vaseline Verified, which is truth, not hype. The idea of looking at all the uses of Vaseline and creating an idea behind that. That's creativity that I value agencies for. The other thing the agencies can supplement any, I will call that skill gaps or execution needs that your team might have. So if you're using talent to create content, then use the agency to help execute a content deal, maybe with the creator, if that makes sense. So I think the idea is to step back and say, what's the need? Where do you have internal resources today, or where can you create those internal resources to deliver? And then next, where can't you or will you not invest in that the agencies can add their irreplaceable value?
That sounds like an excellent conversation. I might eavesdrop. Couple of questions about marketing leadership. I would love to hear from you. If you could talk to your younger self now, before starting out in marketing, all these 35 years, right? What would you say to her? What advice would you give her?
I have 5 leadership principles that I've developed over decades, and I would share those things with myself earlier. One of them is do you, it's your superpower. I started out trying to fit in. I came from undergrad and I approached work like school, study to get the grade. And I thought the work environment was the same way. Look at the suits around me, model and mimic to get the grade. And it was after a couple years that I realized that was sameness. not because I was trying to do well, but more I saw that there were so many different people in the organization that were all copying each other, that we were missing the insight from the breadth of what people could provide. So sooner, do you, it's your superpower. It took me maybe 5 years to get to that point. And when I did, I felt freer, and that's when my career started to accelerate because I brought more of myself, and some bigger things happened on the business, like creating Febreze and impacting what beauty looks like. So I would say that. And there are a range of others. One is manage your energy, not your time. I grew up learning about time management, and time is finite, energy isn't. It can grow. And it took me a while, probably 10 years, maybe even longer, to realize where I source my energy from so that I could do more of those things. I have energy domains, ooh la la, which are sensational experiences that I'll invest in. I'm more and adore close connected relationships with people that I love or like, and invest in those. Passion powered. Accomplishing goals in areas I'm passionate about. So as I spend my time in those, my energy grows. It allows your impact to grow. So I tell my younger self that.
That's wonderful. Well, I have one more question for you. Okay. What would be your advice to aspiring CMOs? What do you think that they should know? How can they get the job of their dreams?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is agility. The CMO role changes from year to year, month to month, day to day, and there's no two the same CMO roles, so agility. The other thing I would say is intentionality. That, like, why would you want to be a CMO? I would say so that you could make a big difference in how brands connect with people and make a big difference, and how business can benefit from that. So coming up with your why is what I mean by intentionality. Why? Your why is going to motivate you for whatever that is. And it might be that turns out you really want to be a CEO, or it might be that you absolutely want to be a super CMO. So I'd give that advice. Know your why. Yes, be flexible, because the job changes. You think you know, but you don't know. And then third, I think about the CMO as change management officer for today, that it's not just about marketing, which, as we talked, is about seeing people, but it's also about working with other people to see the opportunity and bring the change to life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Esi. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're so busy, and we just really love having you here and giving all this wonderful advice. So
thank you for having me and for the conversation. Okay.